ちゃ痛いですよこれ。
いや、やっぱりリスペクトがないという長野さんの話にありました。相当クリス・ジェリコやっぱ来てるんでしょうね、内藤哲也に対して、ね。いや、それはやっぱ彼はその全世界にやっぱり名前を取ってるレスマスターですから。いいビルド。
Very closely. I want you to look at this. You see this? You see this? This is the blood of Naito. And it's the blood of Chris Jericho. Because two men just beat the shit out of each other. It was one of the toughest matches I've ever had in my entire career. Naito Tatsuya is an excellent, excellent performer and professional wrestler. And that was one of the hardest matches I've ever had in my life. But you can see this. The blood of Chris Jericho and Tatsuya Naito is on the Intercontinental Championship. 10 times Intercontinental Champion, 9 times WWE, now New Japan. The only performer in professional wrestling history to be the Intercontinental Champion in the WWE and New Japan Pro Wrestling. It also shows that Chris Jericho is in New Japan Wrestling to stay. It wasn't just for the Tokyo Dome. It wasn't just for tonight, because now I am the champion. I don't know when I can wrestle again, because Naito kicked the shit out of me. My head is fucking killing me. My hand is killing me. I'm seeing stars. But it was worth it, because just like I said, I am the best of all time. I am the greatest of all time. I am the Alpha, Chris Jericho. And you never know what to expect from Chris Jericho. You never know what I'm going to wear. You never know what I'm going to do. And you never know what titles I'm going to win. And tonight, I am the IWGP Intercontinental Champion. And I take that very seriously. I know Naito didn't want the Intercontinental Championship. He didn't wear it. He didn't bring it to the ring. This stays with me from now until the moment I lose it. I'm going to eat with this title. I'm going to sleep with this title. I'm going to shit with this title. I'm going to go buy a first-class ticket on the flight to Tampa tomorrow so this title can sit next to me on the plane. Because it's that important to me. After 26 years of coming to Japan and almost 60 tours, I am finally an IWGP champion. And that means everything to me. So I take great pity for anybody that wants to take this from me. And I take great pity anybody that wants to face Chris Jericho here in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Because you never know what I'm going to do. And none of you believed that I was going to become the champion tonight. Not one of you. Except for me. So drink it in, man. It's the new Intercontinental Champion. And you can choke on it.
skills and vocabulary too. All the hits in the disc edition is all brand new. You're through. I'm interplanetary and like Doctor Who. So who?
Fuck your beat, no relief. I step on stage, girls scream like I'm Keith.
What's up, everybody? Ringtime Pro Wrestling is in the building. It is Keith flying solo. You have not heard from us in a couple of weeks. That is okay. Just still getting stuff together, man. Just still reorganizing, readjusted. But we here. This week will be a little special. We'll probably drop like 2 shows this week. This will be the first, which will be the New Japan recap of Dominion. Huge pay-per-view this weekend in New Japan. I don't know if it's called a pay-per-view per se. If you have New Japan World app, that's how you watched it, like I did. Major matches, major show, legends, strong contingent from the Canadian crew. We're going to talk about it. You heard the opening promo. If you've been living under a rock, Chris Jericho showed out in New Japan. But we're going to go over all of that. and we're going to talk about what's hot in the news this week. It's not going to be heavy WWE, if any, so there won't be no SmackDown or Raw recaps this week. Well, later this week we'll go briefly over what's going on as we preview the pay-per-view Money in the Bank that will be going down Sunday on Father's Day. So we'll have a preview show for that on Thursday. But tonight, we're here to talk about New Japan. So, the big thing, the show opens up, man. They introduced the new CEO of New Japan Pro Wrestling. He's not a Japanese guy to begin with, even though he speaks fluent Japanese. But yeah, not a Japanese guy. Interested. But yeah, that happened. Going right into the pay-per-view. Suzuki-Gun, represented by El Desperado and Kanemaru, defended the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles against Roppongi 3K, Sho and Yo. Good match, high energy. Second match of the night was a tag match. Juice Robinson and Dave Finlay, Fit Finley's kid, for some of y'all who don't know, they defeated Jay White and Yoshi Hashi. This match was significant because the pinfall. Juice Robinson pinned Jay White, and after pinning Jay White, he marched around with the IWGP US title and paraded around with it. Said, "Hey, I guess stating his claim that he is going to take that belt," which they have a match coming up, which we'll talk about later on, because it'll be happening in July. But it's kind of weird because we know wrestling's scripted. We know these things aren't the way it's supposed to go per se sometimes, but I saw it and I had a problem with it. And this is good though. This is why I like New Japan, because things happen in New Japan and I get to still believe. Like, I love the storylines. I love how they play out. I saw Juice with the belt, and I'm a Juice fan. And I think Juice has a bright future, and he's been grinding, and he's been working his way up the ladder. But I'm like, yo, man, you can't be praying around with that belt. You ain't won it. I believe in don't touch the belt until you win it. You don't get to touch that belt. No, if the guy you beat is a champ and you coming for him, cool. Just lay the belt on his chest. But you do not get to walk around with the belt. You don't get to put it over your shoulder like you the man. He did that, and I thought it was disrespectful. But, being said, hey, I can fall back. And I think Juice is going to have a tough time getting that belt when he challenges Switchblade. And I think he'll learn from his mistakes. And it's not a tag match where you get help or nothing like that. It's going to be mano-a-mano when they face off for that title. So there we are for that. Minoru Suzuki defeats Zack Sabre Jr. Tag up. You might remember Zack Sabre from the Cruiserweight Classic with the WWE. But he has been in New Japan. He did not sign with WWE. They defeat Tomohiro Ishii and Toru Yano. So that happened. One of the big title changes of tonight. Strongman Mike Elgin. You know him from Ring of Honor. You know him as like one of the strongest dudes in the business today. Power lifter. Looked really good when I saw him in New Japan. It like he slimmed up and trimmed up. And like he really been working on that. And athletic guy, man. Whew. He had a spot in this match, and I was just like, oh, wow, hold on, time out. Did not expect that from Mike Elgin. Did not expect him to go airborne. Big guys like that usually don't. The powerlifters usually don't go airborne, but he did. He looked good. He defeated Hirooki, Goto, and Taichi for the Never Openweight Championship. So that is around the waist of Mike Elgin, and I was like, all right. The Guy Jigs are showing up tonight. They are whooping some ass. Okay. So, well, I didn't think that right then. I was just like, all right, cool. Next match, Young Bucks defeat Sanada and Evil. Sanada and Evil have had a good run with those IWGP Tag Team titles, and this was one hell of a match. Or any other card might have been match of the night. The Young Bucks kept fighting, kept persevering. I'm not sure if it was Matt or Nick that had the ankle injury or the foot injury, and they kept fighting, they kept coming, and they won those titles. So this is their first run. Like, one thing I like in New Japan too, evolution, right? So these guys dominated the junior tag team titles for a long time. They no longer junior. Kind of like the other member of the league, Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega was a junior heavyweight champion for a long time. Held that belt. But he's like, no longer a junior. I'm coming for the big boy belts. The Young Bucks, now the tag team champions in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Not just tag team champions, but the tag team champions. It was a big difference. And they won. Beat Sanada Evil. Like I said, that is no small feat. Both those guys are incredibly talented. They are the kind of classic tag team I like. I like my tag teams that have like a contrast in styles. So with Evil, he's more of your powerhouse guy. Sanada's more of your speed flyer guy. I like that. Look, I like the British Bulldogs. I know what Davey Boy go bring. I know what Dynamite go bring. Heart Foundation. I know that like Neidhart is your muscle guy. Brett is your technician. I like those kind of tag teams. And don't get me wrong, I like all kinds of tag because I like the Road Warriors where look, both of them are the power guys. Both of them are the power guys. But Gigi's own. But yeah, congratulations to the Young Bucks. So right now, that's like, wow, we got 2 titles coming off those Japanese guys in New Japan. Whew, this is crazy. So, but yeah, it was a definitely entertaining match. Shout out to those guys. Next up, the Bullet Club, represented by Cody Rhodes, Hangman Page, and Marty Scurll, defeated a Legends team. It consisted of Hiroshi Tanahashi, who, if you are not familiar with New Japan Pro Wrestling, but you're more of a WWE fan, in my mind, and people may disagree with me, Tanahashi, to me, is equivalent right now to their John Cena. And what I mean by that, Cena's still active. Cena is still very much a presence, but he's not in the world title picture anymore. Like that part of his career is transitioning. Now they can always plug it back in, but right now that's not what we're doing with John Cena. But that doesn't dispute anything of him being one of the greatest of all time, right? I can say the same thing about Tanahashi. Like, I think right now he is doing his swan song, and I don't know how long this swan song is going to last. It could last for 3 years. He's going to win some titles, just probably not the world title. Like, we're moved on from that, but still one of the greatest of all time, still an attraction, and in matches like this, it's good to feature him because it's a match with legends. So it's him, and he's in there with Jushin Liger, who, man, look, if you know me, you know how I feel about wrestling. You know how I feel about Liger. I have been watching Liger since I was like 12, maybe younger, right? I'm damn near 40. I'm just saying. The dude been around that long and still gets it done, still looks good, does more with less. The beautiful thing about Liger, I think too, that makes him ageless is the gear, right? We've never seen his face. And for the most part, we haven't seen his body. So, like, you he gets to stay the same guy for like 27 years. So, but he's there, and he's with Rey Mysterio. They were with Rey Mysterio Jr. Rey has, I think he's always wanted to, he likes New Japan, and he's wrestled in Japan, because he's wrestled all over the world. Rey is from an interesting generation. For those of you who are a little younger or whatever, this is what I'll say. Rey is the last of my favorite generation of wrestlers. So, him and Jericho out here doing it, but Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, these guys traveled the world, and a lot of us fans became aware of them prior to them coming to the U.S. and would catch them on tapes and watch them on tapes, and then when they came to the U.S., it was like, bam. And then when they went to WCW, we was kind of like, we went to ECW, we like, oh, this is good. Back in WCW, we like, hey, man, they got to get a push. Then, I mean, they move around, and they go to different promotions. They're in Mexico. They're in the WWF, and it's like, all right, cool, they finally hit the big time. And then, now, some of them exceeded our wildest expectations. When Rey made his debut in WWF, I didn't think that they were going to push him as far as they did, which I think also they held him back a few times too, because I think the popularity of Rey would catch on. They'd be like, whoa, this thing is getting towards a world title push again. We don't want to do that with him. We want to keep him in this little box. But they dig him because he sells a lot of merch. I'm going to tell you how the power of Rey Mysterio. Rey that had his mask, he got demasked in WCW. He came back with the mask. Hey, you a luchador. You can't do that. That is not how this works. And Lucha Libre, and he's the king of the lucha. Hey, once that mask is gold, it is gold. Once they see you unmasked, that is a wrap. Rey gets to still come out here and put the mask on, and nobody says nothing. Total opposite of tradition, but that is fine. I'm just saying this to say this. That was a team of legends. I would let Team of Legends to go over, but they did not. And that's how heels get heat. Cody, Hangman, and Scurll took that for the Bullet Club, and their faction of the Bullet Club, which we'll see about the Bullet Club later on and see how attacked it remains. But there's 3 straight matches that nobody from Japan got to win in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Just want to let you know that. 2 of those, they coughed up belts. So, you know, it is what it is. But it was a hell of a show. I enjoyed Dominion, and not because Americans won, but I just enjoyed it. But yeah, so that is that. So now the next match is Hiromu Takahashi defeated Will Ospreay, which that one I didn't call. Now, in other news, hey, Japanese guy won. So it's bright side, because they were on a bad streak for most of the night, and it doesn't get better after that. But yeah, man, he won. Takahashi just won the Best of the Super Juniors 2018 tournament, so that's what led him into this match, and he beat Will Ospreay. So now he is the current junior heavyweight champion. It's his second run with the belt, but hey man, this is big for him, because now you are established yourself as the best super junior in the world. If New Japan and WWE could figure out some cross-promotional stuff, we could do some crazy things in wrestling. Because, see, the thing is, New Japan has always had cross-promotion relationships with American companies, just never with WWE. They've had relationships, or they could do like one-offs where, like, Liger wrestled at NXT, and people have came over and done stuff, whatever. But I mean, like how ROH has a working relationship with New Japan, how WCW back in the day had a relationship with New Japan, and guys would even hold the titles. Remember when the Steiners were the IWGP Tag Team Champions and the WCW Champions, and you know, that kind of thing. That's what I'm talking about. TNA had a working relationship with New Japan. I remember the Dudleys, the Motor City Machine Guns held titles with New Japan. Who else held titles? Kurt Angle was like the champ in both at one time. So, if the WWE ever got that mix, wow. And imagine how they're doing a Cruiserweight Classic and that kind of thing. Hey, the winner of that could face the best of the Super Junior. Damn it, we could definitely find out who is the best light heavyweight, cruiserweight, or whatever you want to call them in the world. Like, we could have that out if you want to. Just saying. Excuse me while I'm drinking during the show, because my throat's getting dry, and I did not expect to talk as much as I'm talking. I don't know why I say I didn't expect to talk as much as I'm talking. I'm doing a talk show, right? Anyway, what I'm saying, I expect my throat to respond in such a way. Chris Jericho defeated Tatsu Naito to win the IWGP Intercontinental Championship. This is huge. So, one, if you speculating about the future of Chris Jericho, he'll be doing some New Japan for a while. Two, great look, man. Chris Jericho is up there. Well, Cody Rhodes is follower Chris Jericho. So I would say Chris is probably the originator. Cody is a close second behind him. When it is time to transition yourself in the wrestling business, when it is time to say, hey, I'm going to take another dimension to this character, I'm going to go further, I'm going to take this thing and I'm going to reinvent it, and I'm going to be this guy while I'm out here. Jericho is the man, okay? I've seen like 7 versions of Chris Jericho in my lifetime, watching him wrestle. Some of the earlier versions were pretty much the same with just different variations. I've seen it with short hair. I've seen it with long hair. I've seen him with suits on, talking slow, giving you those Nick Bockwinkel style promos where he's insulting your intelligence. I've seen him wrestle where he is out there and he gives you the glitter jacket. I've seen the man with the list. Now, I mean, when I saw him with the Kiss makeup and like the dark rocker kind of thing, I was like, oh, this is different. And it's an aggressive Jericho. He's in your face. He will snuff you. He will sneak you. He will do whatever he got to do. But he wants this more than you do. And I like it. And I'm interested to see what he's going to do. Now, people ask, would Chris Jericho be at All In Chicago? Chris said, nah. And long story short, short story long, hey man, there ain't enough bread in it. Chris is not doing shows, especially stateside, where it ain't enough. Right now in New Japan, he getting 6 figures like an appearance. He said he ain't devaluing that to fuck up the money. Sorry, cost too much. Which lets me know when he was wrestling in Saudi Arabia, he got paid. Which, I'll say this, no other reason to do it. So, and I mean, I know the money was flowing in Saudi Arabia. Like, everybody just took it, because the way the WWE set that event up, and all the stops they pulled out for that, you just knew that, like, oh man, the check must be ridiculous. Which, I'll get to that in the news, because, hey man, there's some threats regarding that show. Like, some people was not happy. And they said some things. And you can't build to the wind with these people, but Damn. Didn't know wrestling was that serious. Okay, but that being said, the kid from Calgary won the IWGP Intercontinental Championship, which moves us on to the main event. The final match in the series between Kenny Omega and Kushida Okada. Now, we all know that this series has been kind of one-sided. It's been all Okada. I mean, Kenny Omega has won a couple times, but like the wins that Omega had, like where he won during the G1, right? Like he beat Okada to advance, and he was in the final where Naito eventually wins, but that wasn't for the strap. And when it comes to the strap, it's been Okada, right? But this was like, look, we're not gonna have this fight no more. And Kenny been close, but he never quite get over the hump. This time, we're gonna leave it all out there. Ain't gonna be a bunch of interference. Ain't gonna be there. Look, I'm coming. Kota Ibushi gonna be in my corner. Okada's like, I'm coming. Goto gonna be there because he's always there. That's his right hand man. Alright, cool. 2 out of 3 falls. Let's see what happens. They go an hour, which a lot of people can't do these days. And I'm gonna tell you honestly, that first fall was intense as hell. That first fall, I'm like, oh wow, this is over. Oh no, Arch Race is 2 out of 3 falls. Well, I don't think they're going to go to the 3rd fall, but they did. Well, either way, saying all to say, Kenny Omega is your new IWGP champion. Another kid from Manitoba, for Calgary. Like, wow. Hey, hold on. Those 2 Canadian kids are running New Japan. Michael Elgin is another Canadian kid. Like, this is crazy. And if you just want to go to Guy Jigs as a whole, the Young Bucks, I mean, look, I just gave you 5 out of the last 6 matches, and only 1 Japanese guy won something. But that all being said, in New Japan Pro Wrestling, that's important to note. But what I told you earlier, that I like New Japan because I like the storytelling, I like the arcs, I like the long form of what they do. Okay, there's probably been, I can count in the last 5 years of this company, 4 champions at most, right? With Kenny Omega being a new one, Kushida Okada, Tanahashi, and AJ Styles. Those are probably your last few champs. Okada just had his 4th reign with the belt, and it was at 720 days, right? Now, to put that in perspective, different people have had long runs. I think CM Punk had a good run. Then Brock Lesnar just broke or whatever, 400 some odd days. A year is 365 days. Alright? This is basically saying that Okada, for 2 years, uninterrupted, was the champ. 2 years. All comers. And we've seen some hell of a matches. Especially against Kenny Omega. But after Kenny Omega won G1 the year before, not this year, but the year before, well, no, it was Naito, then Omega, right? So Omega won it before Naito won it. But besides that, AJ Styles leaving the company in 2016, coming to the United States. Who's going to be the top non-Japanese guy in the company? Kenny stepped out of the junior heavyweight to heavyweight. And he made his intentions known that he was coming for a belt. And he ran through and he worked hard, and we knew when he took control of the Bullet Club, when it became Kenny Omega's Bullet Club, and, you know, he's going to face challenges for the leadership of Bullet Club because him and Cody Rhodes, that's their beef. We knew he was on his way to the title. We expected it a year ago. Now, New Japan does old school territory booking a little bit. You were expected it a year ago. You were expected it at different moments after he won G1. When they had their big match at Wrestle Kingdom, we was like, alright, Kenny Omega, it's your time. No, man, it's Okada. Which, if you take the story of Okada, hey man, that fourth reign was the sweetest. Because he had to beat Tanahashi. He had to beat Tanahashi at Wrestle Kingdom for it to mean what it meant. Because like in WWF, I tell you, hey, you win it and you could be a champ, but it becomes that next level special when you win it at WrestleMania. Or defend it successfully at WrestleMania. Once you take it to the biggest stage, that's one thing. There's a lot of off-Broadway champs. There's a lot of guys who won the belt and don't have nothing to show for it at the big show. They didn't take it into the big show. They didn't take it out of the big show. Okada got over that hump. And he officially submitted himself as the man. And to be fair, I still think Okada is the man in New Japan. But Kenny Omega has a strap right now, and I think Kenny Omega is the next in line. And I think he finally got over that hump and won the title that eluded him, and won the title that says, right now I'm at the top of the game. And that title, I think, is significant because it's an investment in a guy who, when that star was rising and when the rocket ship went to his back, the first thing people said, especially being a guy from Canada, hey, this guy might go to WWE. He didn't go. He did not go. He stayed. And he stayed the course. He said he wants to change wrestling. I think his best shot to do that is in New Japan. And I've always said that. I always felt like his best shot to do that is in New Japan. Because he could become a big guy here, but he'd just be one of the big guys. Where there, I think he has a chance to do something special. And I think he has a chance to carry this company where they are the number 2 wrestling company in the world. Number 1 in Japan. And I think they can make a challenge for one. They're the only company that has a realistic challenge for one. And part of the reason is because they have a foothold in other parts of the world, right? So they can, and they're making big money over there. Because you got to think about, even this show to me, they sell it out probably 12, 13,000 seat arena. Like they doing it. The Tokyo Dome shows for Wrestle Kingdom are like 50, 60,000. You know what I mean? Nobody else is doing that in wrestling except for WWE. So they're getting the bucks with that strong Japanese market, and with New Japan World and having an app similar to the WWE Network, they have a chance to position themselves where they can have a large distribution. And hey man, they started to come to US more frequently. So, and we'll talk about that a little later on. Right now, I guess we can hit a little bit of a break, and then I'm going to cover news. No birthdays today, so we'll just do news, and we'll be back. And the news is going to be interesting because I got a lot to say. Put it like that. Just to let you know, I got a lot to say. So, we'll be back.
And Dusty Rhodes also said that his sister could whip me on any street in America. Well, let me tell you something, Dusty Rhodes. I've heard a lot about your sister. I know she's been on a lot of streets, so she knows them real well. As a matter of fact, they used to call Dusty's sister Federal Express. Did you know that? When she went out on a date, she absolutely positively had to be there overnight. But I want to talk about Dusty's whole family. I want to talk about his drunken old daddy down there in Austin, Texas, every Saturday night. Dusty Rhodes' father would go in the worst low-class redneck saloon in Austin, Texas, and there would be fighting, there would be swearing, there would be cussing, and a lot of hard drinking. And finally, he'd be able to drag Dusty's mother out of there. But you know something about Dusty's daddy? He was a successful businessman. As a matter of fact, before he was a plumber, he owned a shoe store. He owned a shoe store down there in Austin, Texas, and he did so good at it that to this day, every time the city of Austin, Texas thinks the black loafers, they think of Dusty's father. But let me tell you something, Dusty Rhodes, and I want you to listen real good. The Cornette family has long been regarded not only in Louisville, Kentucky, but all over the country, all over the world, as one of the finest families ever in this country. Beautiful Bobby Sweet Sand, they come from money, they come from power, they come from movers and shakers, they come from the upper crust. We are not riffraff, we're not rednecks, we're not farmers, and we're not plumber sons like you. So don't you ever dare make comments about the Cornette family, because, brother, let me tell you something. We're going to take that into consideration. Just remember, your daddy spent his whole life in other people's toilets, and while he was out there with that plumber's helper, every delivery boy and out-of-work bum in Austin, Texas knew the color of your mama's bedroom. You remember that. Let's go.
More after this timeout, fans.
All right. We are back. So let's talk, right? So this week, past week, things that went down, and we're gonna talk about them. The first story we're gonna go to is CM Punk. Now, CM Punk is no longer a professional wrestler. That being said, and he's made news about that, and people asked him this week, ahead of UFC 225, his second major fight. He was the opening act on a pay-per-view in Chicago, his hometown, to be noted, where he fought a guy named Mike Jackson. So I'm going to set the stage for you. People been asking him all week about, hey man, wrestling this, you going to come back to wrestling? And Punk said, no, not never, and he's tired of people asking him about him coming back to pro wrestling. What I will tell Mr. Phil Brooks is this. Nobody gives a shit about Phil Brooks, per se. The reason you are at UFC 225 is because you are a pro wrestler. Your value to the UFC was you being a pro wrestler. Right? And I say this because Punk has a certain level of animus towards pro wrestling, and especially WWE. Now, don't get me wrong, I fully get him and WWE and their issues, because we're about to talk about that right after I talk about this. That being said, you don't have to couple them with the entire sport, right? If you worked at Coca-Cola and you had a problem with Coca-Cola, that does not besmirch the soft drink industry. Fago and Pepsi and Southeastern Atlantic and all the other companies, they ain't got nothing to do with that. That was between you and Coke. If you got a problem with Delta Airlines, that's a problem with you and Delta. They ain't got nothing to do with the flight industry. Punk has kind of marginalized wrestling. And what he's kind of done is, since he's got in the UFC, a guy who used to be so pro wrestling, I love wrestling, I'm the guy, and this is what it is, hates wrestling and hates the mention of wrestling. Now, I'm going to say it's hypocritical. I'll tell you why it's hypocritical. One, I remember when Punk was in WWF. I remember him hating when Rock would come back, because Rock would get a top spot. Somebody who hasn't been wrestling, who's been part-time. Undertaker ain't been wrestling half the year. Undertaker shows up, you get the top spot. You know why? One, because it's business, and you're in the wrestling business. You know what I mean? So guess what? Things that draw money. But he thought he should be the guy, and he thought he would be able to draw at that level, which probably not. But that's neither here nor there. When he was in wrestling, he was the man, and he had a spot to be the man. People believed him. Hell, they still chant CM Punk at the arenas. But he just has this distaste for this stuff. And it's like, hey, man, that's what made you. And why I say he's hypocritical is because there's no reason he should have ever had 2 pay-per-view fights in the UFC. Like, ever. He's 0-2 with 2 pay-per-view fights. You know where 0-2 guys in MMA fight at? I'll tell you, you know where a guy who has no record at all, who was never a professional, and has no amateur background. Like, I want you to understand, he has no background as a shooter or anything like that. I don't think Brock Lesnar's first UFC fight was on television, per se, or a pay-per-view. I think he had a built-up record before he got on. Not a built-up record, but I think it was like 3-0 or something like that before he had. Now he got a title fight very quickly, but he did not go right away. And Brock Lesnar was an accomplished amateur wrestler who thought about going to the Olympics. Like, he was like, and wrestling is an actual martial art. Punk is a hobbyist who, did some stuff on the side, but look, Punk's MMA experience is equivalent to my experience of playing basketball at the Y. Alright? And the thing is, just like me at the Y, I don't know if he even lit it up when he was doing his stuff on the side. Like, hey, when I'm not pro wrestling, I go take some Muay Thai classes. Great. I could take the same ones, Punk. But that don't mean I should be fighting in the UFC. Alright. Difference between me and you is I actually have an amateur background in something. As far as we know, you ain't got nothing. Right? You've been doing this. And don't get me wrong, you have been chasing your pro wrestling dream your whole life for the most part. As a teenager on up. But that means you should not be in a UFC pay-per-view. Where these guys have bled and sweat and worked their whole lives to get to where they are. And you went out the first one and fought Mickey Gall. Which, hey, ain't no reason you should be fighting no Mickey Gall in your first fight. Like, that's like, whoo. You talk about going into the deep. Hey, that's going to the deep where Jaws is swimming. Nah, not the best idea. But once again, I say he's a hypocrite because he has a spot that he would have been pissed if somebody got in pro wrestling. Thing is, one is legitimate and one is literally entertainment. That the name of the company is entertainment, and you do what you do to entertain, and it doesn't really matter. So there's that. But he had a second match and he got his ass whooped. But not convincingly enough for Dana White, because they said Dana White fired Mike Jackson. Now, Mike Jackson hates CM Punk's ethos or the idea of his existence. And I guess I would too. I don't know what Mike got paid for this fight, but I heard Punk got paid about $500,000. That's pretty high for even semi-main and main eventers at UFC. Just understand. Conor McGregor gets probably like in the millions. Ronda Rousey, when she fought, got in the millions. But for the most part, those guys that you see in those preliminary fights are not getting $500,000. So that's why they trying to get the knockout at the match of the night, because they try to get that bonus. They're not getting $500,000. So Punk, hey man, more power to you, get your paper, but this is over. And I get why Mike Jackson hates the idea of Punk. Mike Jackson, professional boxer, I think it was like 4-0 or something like that in boxing. Did another mixed martial art professionally. He was a Golden Gloves boxer in 2011. So he's dedicated to martial arts and the mixed martial arts, and it actually is a professional. But he is not UFC ready, per se. He fought Mickey Gall too and lost, which is just admirable, but he did. But people consider him and Punk on a similar level, and I don't think that's fair. I think Mike is a guy who still needs polish and probably shouldn't have been fighting on pay-per-view. But because Punk needed an opponent that they thought was close enough where he had a chance, they went out and got a guy that probably ain't ready for prime time either. The difference is, I think Mike Jackson can go fight in Bellator and get better and eventually come back to UFC. Or go to somewhere else and get better and come back. He don't come back for Punk. Like, this is it. And will he go back to the business he hates? I don't know. I can see him doing it and be unapologetic of it, because he's one of those strong-willed, strong conviction guys. And you know what? He strikes me as the type who can come back and talk shit about it like it wasn't a big deal, and how everybody making it a big deal, make it seem like we all crazy for everything he said. So that's where we are with that, right? So yeah, does that mean he's coming? I don't know. The guy could wrestle in Japan. First of all, the guy gained his weight back because he looked sick at that 170. He got to gain his weight back, get back up to about 200 pounds, and but he can wrestle at ROH. He can go back to ROH. Or whatever he want to do for the love of the money. Or if he don't want to do that because he got enough money, then he just keep writing comic books and, figure out something else. But that's it for Punk in the fight. He did win one battle. He and Colt Cabana win their lawsuit against the WWE doctor. For those of you who don't know, in 2014, there was a podcast. Colt Cabana, the Art of Wrestling, who is probably one of the leaders in the wrestling podcast game. Him, Austin, and Chris Jericho probably at the top of the game, even though Jericho's probably more of a life podcast, which is kind of ironic because that's the line for the Cabana show, but I think Jericho is more him expanding his interest, and wrestling just happens to come up every now and then. But for the most part, most of his guests are musicians and actors and all this kind of stuff. Cabana is a wrestling podcast. It's about life on the road. CM Punk was his best friend. And I'll get to that later because it's got tied to another thing I'm going to talk about with CM Punk. And he came down to Cabana's podcast because he wanted to air out what happened when he left WWE, and he wanted to do it in a safe space. He wanted to do it with a guy he trusted and a guy who, so he got his best friend and they went out there and did it. Well, Punk tells a story about his staph infection that wasn't getting treated properly by the WWE doctor. He found out what it was by seeing an independent doctor. Punk and Cabana won the lawsuit because the lawsuit was a doctor suing them for defamation of character, saying it damaged his reputation as a physician, and Now, word on the street, and I can't verify this, but word on the street, and it's pretty scuffed, it's been recorded by multiple sources, that the doc was funded by WWE. WWE put up the money, helped fund the legal thing for the doctor. Now, if that is true, I would say this: Vince needs to slap somebody, because whoever the lawyer was for this is who botched it. He didn't have the right information during discovery. There was a lot of stuff that just went left in this case. What happened was there was a lot of deposition. A lot of inside baseball was talked about in pro wrestling. Water Culture did a great 10 things you learned in the Punk trial. But I'm just going to go to the meat and potatoes of it. Because Doc was suing for like $4 million, which lets me know if the WWE was backing Doc, it wasn't even about they were trying to break Punk. They wanted to be, they still hold, that relationship is fractured. Like that relationship, like I said, if he hates WWE, it doesn't want to, I fully understand. I want you to understand this. When they fired him and served him his fire papers like, hey, this is it, you released, they did it on his wedding day. Like, just to say this relationship over, they did it on his wedding day. Who his wife was a current superstar at the time. So, yeah, that happened. This is the second fight in his dream in the UFC, the biggest fighting organization in the world. This is his second fight. They have the trial during the week of the fight. They are like fucking with this guy. They paid for the doctor allegedly that was suing him for $4 million because they probably felt like, hey, that would hurt him really hard. Their number is arbitrary because they said it came up with like basically $1 for every person who listens to the podcast. They lost, and they should have lost. The WWE should have lost, or Doc should have lost per se. One. You think this guy really gonna talk about this and he ain't got proof? You know he went and saw his own medical professional. So there are medical records of evaluating of what happened against your own records. Some lawyer with a brain should have sat down and looked at this shit and figured out, hey man, this ain't a good look. This ain't a good look. Nope, went out there anyway. Thought they were gonna take him down, and they didn't. Good for Punk, good for Cody. Which leads me to another thing about Punk. So, Corey Graves tweeted over the weekend about the fight and stuff like that, and said some things about Punk, and people got mad. I'm here to tell you Corey Graves was right. And I'll tell you why Corey was right. Punk distances himself from everybody in WWE. And people who work there, basically, they said he gave an ultimatum of, hey, walk out with me or, we can't be cool. And, I don't know how true that is, but if Corey was like, hey, me and this guy was tight, I'm texting him with, with the company that I work for, probably won't be fucking with him. I'm still trying to holler at dude. The dude looking at me like, nah, dog, you work over there with the enemy. Yeah. God, somebody might be a bit of an asshole. It ain't Corey Graves. So, enough of that. New Japan has returned to the United States. We talked about the pay-per-view earlier. They are doing a G1 special in California at the historic Cow Palace, one of the premier venues on the West Coast in the Bay Area for professional wrestling, one of the most historic venues. Kenny Omega versus Cody Rhodes with the IWGP Championship on the line. Juice Robison will challenge Jay White for the United States IWGP title. Yeah, that's all going down, so that should be good. Lucha Underground returns for season 4 on El Rey. I'm excited to see what they have going on. And mind you, Lucha is an interesting place for me because I detest the idea of intergender wrestling, but I still will mess with Lucha Underground. Basically, I don't like anything that simulates any kind of combat between a man and a woman. I think it's a bad space to be in. But that's neither here nor there. So that's kind of it for this week's show. We'll be back Thursday, and I'm going to preview Money in the Bank. And also NXT TakeOver Chicago, which should be really awesome. So we'll talk about that. And from there, we'll move on, and we'll try to keep giving y'all good audio content and get this thing back up. The website is being updated. We're going to push some things out. I shall have a review of some documentaries and have that available for you. So without that, that's it, man. Peace. Catch y'all in a couple of days.